Welcome in, everybody. What should we expect in year three of Connor Bedard? Can the Jets repeat as President Trophy winners this year? And does the Monty Magic continue in St. Louis? We're talking about all things Central Division right now. Let's get after it, everybody. Here are my Central Division predictions for this upcoming NHL season, which isn't that far away now. We're already into mid-August. Coming in at number 8, everybody, we have the Chicago Blackhawks, probably not a surprise to anybody out there, finishing 8th a year ago, 25, 46, and 11 for 61 points. Goals for last year, 224. That was 26 in the league. Gave up 292, good for 31st. Not a super busy July 1st for the team. You know, they traded for Sam Lafferty there from Buffalo. He got into 60 games a year ago with 7 points. They did add left winger Andre Burakovsky from Seattle, 79 games for him, 10 goals, 27 assists for 37 points. Really, I think the big get was their own free agent that they kept, but they were able to re-sign, and Ryan Donato, a guy that was high on my list of potential trade candidates. And they get him at such a great value, $4 million times 4 years. The kid played 80 games a year ago, 31 goals, 31 assists for 62 points. So, beyond Bedard, he's the other kind of goal scorer that you have on this team. Now, they did have a great draft getting center Anton Frondell, of course, a Swedish kid. He did sign with the team, $975 times 3. Got to be very curious to see if he makes the club, where he ends up. But this kid has all sorts of talent. Chicago fans should be really excited about him. But we all know that when it comes to the Blackhawks, it is all about Connor Bedard, baby. It is all about the kid. 82 games a year ago for himself, 23 goals, 44 assists, and 67 points. Now, we did talk in a previous video how, he caught a little bit of criticism last year. Didn't really see that progression in year 2 that a lot of people expected. Kind of thought he'd be a point-per-game guy a year ago. So do we just need to be patient with this kid? He is, I think, a generational talent. And again, he could play on my team any day of the week. Is it just a matter of, no help around him? I mean, outside of Donato, when you go in to play Chicago, nobody scares you on this roster right now. Nobody. That's what happens when you're in this kind of rebuilding mode. You could have a star player like that just can't get any room on the ice. So you got to find ways to create space for him. He has to find more ways. He has to learn and develop. Part of this is on him too. He has to learn how to create more space for himself as well. I think there'll be a lot of eyes on Connor this year. I do expect him to be a point-per-game guy this year. 82 to 90 points, I think, is doable for him. And I think in year 3, I think we should expect that. So I'll be curious to see how he does. Of course, the team does have new head coach coming in, Jeff Blashill. Of course, he was a previous coach there in Detroit for 7 seasons from 2015 to 2022, where he coached 537 games, had a 204, 261, and 72 record, 447 points percentage. What are you Chicago fans expecting with this guy? I mean, is he just going to be the sacrificial lamb that kind of helps get this team to competitive play before they bring in another guy? Not really sure. I think it is all about development of these young kids though right now, and hopefully he can make some progress there, especially if Frondell makes the team too. Definitely need some of that player development happening there. So I'll be curious to see what Jeff can do. Listen, the salary cap for the team, $18.6 million under the cap. So when you go into next season with the potential free agent class it could be, you've got all sorts of room to add. They didn't add this year. Again, it wasn't a great class. I understand why they didn't add a lot this year. But you go into next year, listen, the original 16 with a couple great young players. Chicago has all the allure, I think, for anybody in sports. It's just a great sports city, not just a hockey city. So, I think there's room for optimism, room for hope that you'll see progression this year, but not playoffs. They're far, far from the playoffs. No surprise coming in there. Coming in at number 7, everybody. My magnets will cooperate with me. We do have the Nashville Predators. Of course, finished 7th a year ago as well. 30 wins, 44 losses, 8 OTLs for 68 points. Probably the maybe the biggest disappointing team, or the most disappointing team, I should say, from a year ago. Maybe the Rangers are up there too for a lot of people, but I put Nashville as my most disappointed team. Goals for 212, that was 31st. Goals against 274, good for 27th. I just call this the worst team with the best collection of players, right? I mean, they just have so many good individual players. It just didn't gel. It just didn't work for the team a year ago. And not very active July 1st either. I don't know where they really could have added again with that group, but they do add Nick Pervex. They do get Nick Hague done as well via that trade from Vegas. Listen, man, Barry Trotz, near and dear to our hearts here in Portland, Maine. Of course, he was a Portland Pirates coach. Got us a Calder Cup all those years ago. He's got some work to do, though, man. He has got some work to do. Those signings from a year ago, while they may have individually performed okay, did not produce wins for the team. They were competitive. I mean, if you watch a Nashville game, you wouldn't suspect they were so bad, but they were third in the league in 1-goal losses at 35. So, I mean, competitive, right? Able to be in a lot of games, but not able to get across the finish line with enough wins. Listen, you look at the two big guys from a year ago, Stamkos and Marchessault. Stammer had 27 goals, 26 assists for 53 points. Marchessault, 21 goals, 35 assists for 56 points. So, both getting older in their careers, but scored all right last year. But it just feels like with this group, too many of the same assets, just too many repeatable assets. As much as it looked great on paper and they made the big splash and everybody said, oh, this is a playoff team. I had them in the playoffs. I didn't have them as high up as a lot of teams. I think I had them, let's say, third in the division last year, which is still way off. I'm not giving myself any praise by saying that. It was a miss. But just too many of the same assets. And the real problem here, when you start to look at these contracts, is they have a no movement clause problem on this team, along with maybe an age problem. Can they sell these players off? I mean, they're not going to have a lot of control over it if you're Barry Trotz and the Nashville Predators. You got Stamkos, 35 years old. This will be his second of the 4-year contract at $8 million per season. That's a full no trade, no movement clause for Stammer. Marchessault, 34 years old, second year 5 at $5.5 million per. The full no movement clause up until 28-29, where it's a modified no trade clause. Roman Josi, the defenseman, 35 years old. He's in year 6 of 8. This contract is at over $9 million per. Full no movement clause for the next 2 years. Then there's no movement. There's no clause at all in 27-28. So you'd be free to trade him at that point if they choose to. Forsberg, 30 years old. Of course, he is their stud. 4th year out of 8 at 8.5 per in this contract. It is a no movement clause until the 2028-2029 season, where it goes to a modified no trade clause, 28-29 and 29-30 seasons. Ryan O'Reilly, 34 years old. He's in the 3rd of a 4th year, $4.5 million. This one isn't quite as drastic. There's no clause in it, but they do have a buyout option for the next 2 seasons. So if they choose to just buy him out, they can do that. And then, of course, the goaltender, the big decision they made here to re-sign Saros. He is 30 years old. First year of an 8-year contract, going to pay him $7.74 million per season. Full no movement clause, and the modification to that clause doesn't kick in until the 2031-2032 season. Yikes, man. There's a lot of lack of flexibility in these contracts. And, maybe some of these guys will just see the writing on the wall and will want to move on. Man, I don't know. It's tough. And it's really tough to see this getting any better. Like, you put the same guys out there. Why would you expect it to be any different? Could they be better? Yeah. Can they win some of those 1-goal games? Sure. Where's the leadership in this room, though? I mean, you got some guys who have won cups on this team, who have been leaders. You got to figure it out. Now, I don't see a lot of hope really for this team to do any better. Again, this is, as I titled this episode, is this the best division in hockey? Yeah, I think it is. I think they surpassed the Atlantic Division this year, in my opinion. And so you can't roll the same stuff back, year after year and expecting different results, right? My real concern is, does Andrew Burnett survive? Good coach. He took his lumps a year ago. They stuck with him. But, man, you got that shiny toy out there. You got that Pete DeBoer toy out there, man. I mean, Pete DeBoer is one of my favorite coaches. We'll talk about Dallas here in a little bit. But Yeah, I mean, if he wants work, if Brunette doesn't survive, let's say the U.S. Thanksgiving, Barry Trotz, man, I'm calling Pete DeBoer. If I'm Barry, I'm giving Pete a call, see what's up. All right, number 6, and again, this is always where it gets hard when you get into kind of the middle of the division, where teams really kind of get close. But I do have, I don't have my Mammoth magnet yet, but the Utah. Wow, let me try that again. Utah Hockey Club, or Utah Mammoth, now as we're going to call them, coming in at number 6. Still getting used to all the new names. This is one, though, that I'm hoping I am wrong. I really do. I want to see this team in the playoffs this year. I have a hard time with all the other teams in this division, seeing them jump, 2, 3, 4 teams. But they did finish 6th a year ago, 38, 31, and 13, 86 points. So they were right around it a year ago. Goals for 240, that was 20th, tied for 20th, and goals against 247, good for 17th. Active July, they did get Nate Schmidt from Florida, and they do get Brandon Tanev as well added to the group. And I absolutely love the JJ Peterka trade with Buffalo. But Buffalo, I don't know what y'all doing. Give this kid up. They got him locked in at 5 years, $7.7 million per. Just an emerging star, I think. And I think now that he's out of Buffalo, you're going to see more out of this kid. 27 goals, 41 assists for 68 points a year ago. Love the trade for Utah. Absolutely love it. And I'm a huge Clayton Keller fan as well. Love this kid. He was a 90-point guy a year ago, 30 goals, 60 assists in 81 games. And they got him locked up at $7.15 million for the next 2 seasons. So, yeah, they got to re-sign him. But what a huge value to get a 90-point guy at that number for the next 2 seasons. That's just awesome. That's just awesome. I think now with Peterka there, you got some other young kids. I call them kids now. I mean, it's been a few years, right, with all these old Arizona, draftees. But I like a lot of the energy they have. I love this kind of growing fan base they have. And, of course, Utah's had pro hockey way before this anyway, so a lot of hockey fans there. I would say if this team was in, let's say, the Pacific Division, I think maybe they get in. I think maybe they're a wild card team, or maybe even fighting for third. Like I said, I do want to be wrong on this one, but I don't see how they climb over some of these next couple teams we have on the list. And coming in at number 5, we have the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota Wild, everybody. 4th place a year ago, 45, 30, and 7 for 97 points, 225 goals scored. That was 25th. Talk about that in a second. Goals against 236, good for 16th in the league. A surprise of sorts, at least for me, from last year. I did not have them in the playoffs, and I really thought they would just completely fall off the map once Kaprizov went down. He only played 41 games, hence the 225 goals and being 25th in the league. Listen, man, most teams, you lose your best goal scorer for half the season. You're typically not a playoff team. But, man, this team just grinded it out. They had a lot of guts on that team. A heavy team, a hard team to play against. And he still, as far as Kaprizov goes, had 56 points in 41 games. And was really trending in that Hart conversation before that injury happened. So full value to what Minnesota did a year ago with those sorts of injuries. A few depth signings in July. They did make the trade for Tarasenko from Detroit. Vladimir getting up there a little bit. 80 games played a year ago for him. 11 goals, 22 assists for 33 points. Purely a shooter and a goal scorer. Probably more like a third-line type of guy. Going to be curious to see what he has left in the tank. But looking like probably going to play with Foligno and Hartman. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Could be interesting. The real story, though, to be watching right now is the Marco Rossi RFA situation. Still not signed. Checking news today. Hasn't been a lot of movement, hasn't been a lot of conversation. A year ago, man, 24 goals, 36 assists for 60 points in 82 games, 23-year-old player, rising star, in my opinion. All sorts of rumors that Vancouver Canucks are in heavy conversations with Minnesota right now. So we'll see if that goes any place. Of course, they made a pitch for him earlier that was denied. We know that the Wild need to prioritize dollars for Kaprizov to get him done long term. He's going to be asking for a big contract. But, man, is there any way they can find a way to get both of these guys in? I just think Rossi's a great, great player. Maybe Rossi's asking for out. Maybe, they're thinking that he just doesn't want to sign, isn't going to sign. If that's the case, yeah, you got to move him. You got to trade him. Vancouver could be a pretty natural fit. I think a kid like that would fit in a lot of places. So yeah, again, I think they're going to be fighting for a wild card again. I think they're going to be right around it again this coming season. I do want to wait to see what happens with Rossi before I kind of make any final predictions on the team. Um, so we're going to keep our eyes to it. Just actually looking at news just from today, there were some reports out of Vancouver that they were getting close to a deal. Of course, I check, Elliot Friedman, he had nothing on it as of this evening. So I guess we're going to wait and see. Moving on to number 4, we have the St. Louis Blues, finishing 5th a year ago, 44-30-8 for 96 points. Goals for 250, 13th in the league, and they gave up 231. That was tied for 11th. And man, oh man, did they have some Monty magic, everybody. Jim Montgomery, of course, fired in Boston, gets signed up there in St. Louis. And once he arrived, the team goes 35-18-7 to end the season. That's a 642 point percentage, people. Listen, this is his hockey home. He played there. He was a rookie there. And St. Louis was the team that gave him a chance as an assistant after his firing and the whole situation there in Dallas. So this is just a natural fit. No surprise at all that he goes and has immediate success. I think that's going to probably continue into October, November. They do sign P. Suter from Vancouver. Speaking of Vancouver, they do get him in at 2 years, $4.125 million for Suter. A year ago, 81 games, 25 goals, 21 assists, 46 points. Kind of a sneaky move here. Again, St. Louis doing some of these moves. Great value signing for the club. Kind of an underrated signing. I think it's a very, very good one here for the team. And Jimmy Snuggerud, of course, a young player, made his debut a year ago, came out of University of Minnesota, had 51 points in 40 NCAA games a year ago, and did get 4 points in with those 7 games in Seattle as well. Lots of excitement about this kid. Looking at some depth charts out there, some of them have him in the first line. So, I think Blues fans should be really excited about the kid. We'll see what happens. Man, I just like how the team is built. I think they've continued to be smart and patient with the roster. You know what they did to Edmonton a year ago, picking off Holloway and Broberg in the RFA signings. And those 2 moves just work magically for them. I kind of think the Suter one will probably do the same. They've got a little bit of everything. They can score, they can defend pretty well, they got a proven champion netminder, and a good mix of vets and young players. Very confident they can return to the playoffs this year. Can't wait to see what we see with them. Coming into number 3, and this is where it gets really, really interesting with 3 really good teams left. At number 3, I do have the Dallas Stars. Of course, second place finish a year ago. Of course, they were my pick to win the Stanley Cup a year ago, so they really kind of left me hanging. 50, 26, and 6 for 106 points. Great stats across the board. Goals for 275. That was tied for third. Goals against 222. Good for 6. And rant is going to start right now. Yes, let's just blame Pete DeBoer. It's all his fault. I need to start right here, guys. Listen, he coached there for 3 years, had 246 regular season games under his belt, was 149, 68, and 29. That's a 665 winning percentage over 3 seasons. Playoffs, he was 29-27. Yeah, we know it gets hard, but still over 500 there. And sure, listen, maybe he knew he was heading out of town when he made those post-game comments about Ottinger. And I guess in today's hockey world, you can't survive that. You can't survive being honest like that to the media. But really, when you think about it, did you really disagree with anything he had to say about his goalie? I mean, sure, we know it's not all Jake's fault, but he was below average, man. He was below average standards in that series with Edmonton. Didn't elevate his team at all. And I'm saying, again, it's not all on him. I'm not sitting here blaming Ottinger for the whole loss. Edmonton's a damn good team. We know that. But let's look at his save percentages here, guys. 889, 880, 750, 935. Good one there. And then, of course, the big donut there in the last game where he gave up 2 goals on 2 shots and got pulled. Listen, it wasn't a problem with what DeBoer said. It was simply that he said it out loud. That's what everyone is up in arms about here. Media guys, man, they complain all the time about getting canned answers from coaches and how coaches are boring at the podium. Then when you have a coach that is authentic and honest and upfront, we lose our minds and we fire the guy. You can't have it both ways, people. You just can't. If you want him to be honest, you got to take it for what it is. Grow a thick skin. And I kind of look at that, the whole thing in Dallas. I think, listen, Jake, he needs to own that a little bit more. I haven't seen all of his interviews, but didn't seem like he was too happy with what coach had to say. Grow a thick skin, man. Your numbers were great. And I think the leadership in that room, I know, listen, Dallas re-signed Jamie Benn. I didn't like a lot of kind of the lack of ownership, I thought, from the locker room, from the team. But let's just go ahead and blame the coach, run him out of town. And listen, I like Ottinger as a goalie. I know he can play better, but I hated what Dallas did here. I absolutely hated it. A good coach lost his job because he was honest, because he had an opinion after a loss, was emotional, and you fire him. And listen, I think the guy they had brought coming in, fine. I'm sure he's going to be fine. I don't think you got better behind the bench here in this summer. All right, rant over. So July 1st, they do sign Faksa, of course, a longtime player there in Dallas, get him on a 3-year contract for $2 million per season, playing in St. Louis a year ago. More of a depth signing for the team. A few other depth signing pieces, but not terribly busy. Of course, they did trade Marchman out to Seattle and made the trade to bring in the defenseman from Pittsburgh, Vlad Kolyak-Honok. I think I got it, guys. So again, not very busy, of course, kind of up against the cap a little bit. Big story right now is really Jason Robertson. He made all sorts of rumors and news this summer as is he going to get traded? He's on an expiring contract. All sorts of rumors have been flying out there about where Jason Robertson will end up. A year ago, 82 games played, had 35 goals, 45 assists for 80 points, and he is on the last year of a $7.75 million contract. Absolutely a pay raise coming, but will it come in Dallas? I think that's something worth watching, people. Listen, does Robertson want to stay there? Does he give the team a heads up as to what his wishes are? If he's looking for something long-term, if he'd like to go elsewhere? And how does that affect what the team can do with him in terms of trade partners? There'd be all sorts of teams interested. Just a matter of if they think they can actually re-sign him, knowing where they are with the cap. If I'm Robo, man, if I'm Jason, I play the year out and I go to market. I just do. I don't screw around. I mean, I know that some people say, oh, take the security and re-sign, but I just say, hey, I'm going to stay in Dallas. I want to be here. And hit the market and be a 10, 11, 12. I don't know what he'll get. I guess it depends maybe on this season. Listen, the team's going to be fine. They're going to score a bunch. I'm sure Rantanen's going to be fine again this year. Of course, now he's settled in. No more trades. He's got his contract thing all figured out. And I expect Ottinger will be back and just be his old elite self again in the regular year anyway. I do expect a bunch of wins. I have them squarely in the mix in this division, despite putting them maybe a step below where they were a year ago. All right, people. Number 2, we have the Winnipeg Jets. Of course, President Trophy winning team from a year ago, 56, 22, and 4 for 116 points. Goals for 275, that was tied for third. Goals against 190, good for first. Might have something to do with that goaltender they have. I think a big question for the team is Toews and Nyquist, their new additions, enough to offset the loss of Ehlers? That's kind of a question you have to ask. Nyquist coming in, he's 35 years old, has a 1-year, $3.25 million contract. Probably more of a third-line option, getting up there in his career, of course, former UMaine Black Bear, which we all remember up here in Maine. And Toews, who knows, right? It's been a little bit since we've seen him on the ice. I guess we should just kind of temper expectations. Hope that he can be 80, 85-ish of what he was, percent of what he was before. Can't wait to see him back out there. I hope it looks good. I hope he's still got game left, man. It'd be just so great to see him. But yeah, I mean, clearly Ehlers is a loss. I don't think those two guys really make up for that loss. But talk about a few other players on this team. Of course, Velarde and his health, and then Perfetti and how he's going to traject here over the next couple of years. Cole Perfetti, only 23 years old, had 50 points a year ago. I think there's all sorts of room for this kid to grow. And, I think, a point per game type of guy, I think that's in his game for sure. For Velarde, man, you just got to stay healthy. I know easier said than done. He's a 30-goal guy, though. If he can stay healthy and give you 75, to 78 games a year, you add those guys to the 80 goals you got out of Connor and Sheffley from a year ago. I mean, it should be another really, really amazing offensive year, despite the loss of Ehlers. And yeah, Connor Hellebuyck, man, in that, no worries at all about this guy. We know it's all about the playoffs with him. I would like to see him take an extra day off or two here or there, give him some extra rest. And yes, I know before anybody says anything, I know the guy is wired. He's geared to play 60 games. We know that rhythm is so important for goalies like him. So those extra days off may actually not do him any good. But man, can we get Comrie up to 25 games? He only played 20 a year ago. Can we get him to 25 games? Just give Connor a couple days off. That'd be all right. And, maybe we do that. And also, I just want to plug a friend's business here. Maybe if you do live in Southern Maine and you need flowers, go check out my friend's flower shop called Maybe's in Saco, Maine. Cute puppy there. The dog is named Maybe. The store is named after the puppy. But yeah, if let's say you're in the doghouse with your girlfriend or your wife, you need to go buy some roses, go down to Saco, go buy some roses from Maybe's flower shop. Great place to go. Not worried at all about this Winnipeg Crew. I want to see them take a step closer this year. I think they have, Western Conference Championship pedigree. I think they have Stanley Cup potential in that room, in that group, but just want to see them take that next step. So, of course, if you're doing your math and your homework, we're down to one team, and at number one, that means we have the Colorado Avalanche coming in, jumping from third to first in my books, 49, 29, and 4 from a year ago, 102 points. Goals for 273, good for 6. Gave up 231. That was tied for 11th. Yeah, a few depth signings there in July. They do pick up Brent Burns defensively, probably one of the more notable gets here in July. A 40-year-old player, of course, we'll see what he has left in the tank. Kind of a gamer, though, played all 82 games a year ago in Carolina, kind of a tough old bird. And so we'll see what kind of grit he can add to that blue line there in Colorado. Man, big story is Gabe Landeskog. He is back. Of course, he played in the playoffs a year ago. So good to see him back on the ice. What a relief. Praying he stays healthy and can give it a full season. And if he can, what an absolute difference maker he will be night in and night out on the ice. Last full season he played was back in 21-22. That was 51 games, 30 goals, 29 assists for 59 points, so over a point per game. I know we're going back a few years. I get that. But if he can be at or near a point per game, 70 points in 75 games or whatever, I mean, awesome stuff there. Absolute difference maker. You add that to Brock Nelson, of course, player they picked up from the Islanders at the deadline a year ago. Good gift for them. Adds just great center depth for the team. He can score 3 straight 30-plus goal seasons up until last year where he only had 26. Of course, the big kind of emotional move out of New York. Had been there forever. Won't be asked probably to score as much on this team. Won't have to score as much. He's going to be a perfect point guard on that second line for this group of scores. Can't wait to see what that looks like. And again, just a great get from a year ago for this team. Really makes them, I think, very, very deep down the middle. And how can we talk about Colorado and not mention Nate MacKinnon and Cale Makar, right? Nate last year, 79 games, 32 goals, 84 assists for 116 points. And of course, Cale Makar from the blue line, 30 goals, 62 assists for 92 points. They just speak for themselves. These guys drive the machine. And this year, that machine's going to have more depth and better goaltending to start the season. They fixed their net last year. Really not much not to like about this team. There just really isn't. Not a ton of cap space, just a little over $2 million right now, according to Puckpedia. So maybe, if they have to add at the deadline, maybe, they have to get a little creative. But yeah, I mean, I think a clear cup favorite in my book. And can't wait to see, again, Landeskog and Nelson added to this group for a full season. Should be a lot of fun to watch out on the ice. So, guys, that's what we have tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to check out my Pacific Division predictions from a couple of videos ago. We do have the Metro Division will be up next, along with a couple of exciting guests here on the show in short order. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you're already subscribing to my channel, thank you. If you're new to the channel, thank you. If you haven't done so and want to stay up to date on upcoming shows, hit that subscribe button down below. Appreciate that. And until next time, everybody, be kind, show love, and God bless.